Well, hello everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. It's lovely to see you all from so many different countries. Today, we're going to be looking at the standards in our industry. And within our industry, we have a very small number of highly professional accreditation bodies. One of the nicest, and I use that word deliberately, one of the nicest, in my opinion, is the IAPC&M. What does that stand for? International Authority. Isn't that an interesting word? International Authority for Professional Coaching and Mentoring. And today we have one of their top international board directors, Dawn Campbell, who is not only a magnificent she is director of the organization, and she is also a colleague and a friend of mine, has been for many, many years. Can I ask all of you to please keep yourself muted while you're listening, and let me hand over to Dawn. Good morning, Dawn.
Good morning, Gerard. You do know how to make a woman blush, don't you? What a lovely introduction. Thank you so much. I'm very blessed to count Gerard as a very long-term good friend as well. So thank you for inviting me to this fabulous event. And it's lovely to see so many faces around the world joining us. So I'm going to share my screen now and talk you through a relatively short presentation, and you can ask me questions as we go so that we've got the relevant slide up if it prompts any questions. Fine, perfect, thank you. So as Gerard says, we're the leading international accreditation body for coaches and mentors worldwide. There's a reason why we call ourselves the leading international accreditation body, and that's because of the feedback our members give us. That, you know, you can call yourself the #1 bestseller when you're an author, but what does it actually mean? So it's not us calling us that, it's our members who are calling us that. And I think that's an important distinction. The only international accreditation body approved by the British Industry Ombudsman. So we have a government ombudsman for our industry that is working to support the standards, even though it's an unregulated market. So what we're going to very quickly look at is accreditation versus certification. I'm just going to add a couple of points to Gerard's earlier explanation, which was great. Thank you for that. We'll touch on why accreditation status matters and why you and your students would even be interested in choosing the IAPC&M. We'll look at the massive return on investment that members get, the process, and when to apply. So, certification versus accreditation. This is a stumbling block for a lot of people. I tend to think of it as the cherry on the cake. Somebody works very hard, they go through education, they go through training, and they collect all their certificates. And at some point, they want to go to an independent body and have their skills, their training, their experience, their testimonials, all verified, authenticated, and it culminates in an independent assessment. And that's why I think of it as the cherry on the top. It's not compulsory. Nobody has to put themselves through it, but those who do are demonstrating a great deal of extra care and commitment to their industry. And I say their industry because there are a lot of industries that have accreditation that is mandatory, like the medical field, education, driving instructors, dentistry, insurance, etc. And that's one of the problems, because a lot of people, when they're hiring a coach or a training provider, just assume that we're also accredited industry. And, you know, not everybody that you hire is accredited. So it can come as a shock. And I'll give you an example. We had a school contact us to say that they had a situation arise in school. I don't know what it was, but they wanted to check that their coaches were accredited. And so it becomes quite a shock when they find out that actually they've been hiring coaches and mentors who aren't accredited. They may not even have had insurance, and they may not even have been properly trained. I don't know. But in that instance, we were able to say, no, these coaches weren't accredited, and explain to them that it isn't automatic in our industry. So there is this assumption that because we're in the speaking industry, the same as therapists and counselors, that there is a regulatory body and everybody's accredited. So I like to think of, and Gerard was talking about the education field. I like to use this analogy, that a training provider doesn't, in my opinion, and shouldn't, accredit their own courses. How can you then certify somebody and then accredit them? It's like asking you to mark your own homework, isn't it? It just doesn't work. It has to be authentic from an independent third party. So accreditation is one stage higher than certification, and it's usually carried out by an independent third party. And it results in a lot of congratulations as far as we're concerned on social media, etc. The members get certificates and logos to add to their portfolio of evidence that they are a professional in our industry. So I won't labour that point because Gerard explained it very well. So why does accreditation status matter? And when your students ask you this question, I would perhaps put the ball back in their court and ask them, why was it important to them when they chose NMC, which is obviously an accredited training provider with a lot of accredited courses? It gave them some differentiators when they were choosing between other training providers and NMC. And the same can be said when they qualify and throw open the doors and say, hey, well, hire me as a coach. Their clients are increasingly asking for differentiators such as, are you properly trained? Have you served your apprenticeship? Are you experienced? Are you insured if your country offers insurance? Are you accredited? Have you written a book? They're looking for things to set them apart from coaches who haven't gone down that route and call themselves coaches and have added coaching to whatever skill set they have. So it's an important differentiator. It's about adhering to a set of professional standards, and we've been doing this since 1998. So when somebody becomes accredited by the IAPC&M, it's formal recognition of, as it says there, their training, their certification, their experience, their capability, credibility, integrity. They sign our standards and ethics. They sign our code of professional conduct. And as somebody said, it's a matter of personal pride. It proves that you care about supporting your clients' needs, their peace of mind, their hard-earned cash, and that you have their best interests in mind. Any questions about why accreditation status matters to either a training provider or to an individual? What are some of the questions that your students are giving you about why does it matter? Why do I have to go for that when you've just given me my certification? If questions come to you later, you can always ask me then.
Dawn, would it be okay if instead of a question, I just made a point?
Please.
Within our organization, we have a division called Noble Coaches, which we go out into the world and we try and get corporate contracts. And then we give those to a panel of coaches. These are men and women who have trained with us. Okay, so we basically find work for coaches. Recently, we have had 2 tenders, one with Hertfordshire County Council in the United Kingdom, which we won that tender, another one with Clare Council in Southern Ireland. But they, during the process of the tender, they made it very clear that they only wanted coaches to apply who were not only qualified and trained, but actually accredited as well. So we're seeing now mainly large organizations who are aware of this, actually requesting it. In the United Kingdom, in the National Health Service, there are 73 what we call trusts, different trusts, which provide hospitals and medical care in all the various regions of the UK. They bring in a lot of outside external executive coaches. And they have, in the recent past, made the decision, the judgment, that they would only now appoint and give paid contracts to coaches who had not only an official training qualification, but also an independent accreditation.
Mm-hmm.
So we're beginning to see this now like a waterfall flow down through large corporates and into the rest of the community.
You're absolutely right, Jared. And as I say, a lot of companies up until now have made the assumption that the people that they're taking on are accredited. It's our educating the public and industry that there is a differentiator between coaches who are calling themselves coaches and the recognized body, that they do need to check. Hence, we have downloadable e-guides on how to choose your coach and how to choose your training provider. And it basically says at the end, and if they don't have an official accreditation by an independent third party, you might want to revisit your list and your criteria. I'm just going to close the window because the roof has arrived. It's incredibly hot here. Oh.
That'll teach you for living in the south of France.
Yeah, well, we've had to have the roofer because we had hail for 12 minutes last month. And I don't know if I showed you the photograph, Jared, but it was the size of the palm of my hand. And everybody's roofs are peppered with holes at the moment. So roofers are popping up all over the place to do the insurance assessments. Okay, so moving on. I just wanted to share with you a culmination of quotes because, as I said to you at the beginning, we're the leading accreditation body. You know, it's not a name that we've just bestowed on ourselves. It's our members who have said that we are the most caring, sharing, practical, hands-on, supportive resource available. Not quite 24/7. I'm in Spain and France. David, my fellow director, is in the UK. My VA is in the Philippines. So we are dotted all over the place. We can usually respond very quickly. And I guess we're kind of email junkies, so we don't tend to wait. But I heard from somebody from another accreditation body, their experience was they've been waiting for over a week for a response, and that this organization is impenetrable. I find that horrifying. You know, we're in the business of having a conversation. Why would we hide behind email or Skype or Zoom? You know, we've got to talk to people and book meetings and help our members and the public when they need our help, not just leave them hanging with an email. So that's why we've earned what we call this strap line, because so many members are saying that they love us, they love our support. It's made a huge difference to what they do. So the important question then, you know, other than what I've just said, is why would we hire? Why would we choose? Why would we become accredited with the IAPC&M? And this is questions that I'm sure you get asked a lot by students. So just to break it down, I think one of the important things is that we are holistic in our approach. Increasingly over the last 2 or 3 years, we've had training providers with very unique, specialist, holistic requirements, and we've been able to respond. We're not trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. We're not saying, here's our 200 questionnaire, then you've got to fill that in. We have meetings with people. We are adaptable. We're flexible. So we've got a very holistic approach to supporting our clients, who I have to say are increasingly holistic themselves, doing heart-led businesses. The feedback that we give our accredited members during the assessment process, they write huge amounts of thank you emails to say it was amazing the amount of time that we spent with them after their assessment call, helping them as part of their CPD. Some have gone as far as to say, if I had had this kind of care and attention and got this kind of feedback through my training provider, not NMC, I have to say, I wouldn't have had to hear it from you. So the feedback is invaluable when they go through the assessment process in terms of boosting their confidence and reassuring them that they've got the capability to go out there and coach. We're specialists, as Gerard said earlier. We've been doing this since 1998. It is our core business. It is all we do. We're not in competition with our training providers. We never provide any training. All our CPD is business-based. And we're capabilities-based. And I think that's a pretty important differentiator between us and other accreditation bodies as well. We are not interested in how well somebody can write a thesis on coaching. When David and I took over the running of the company 4 years, we were competencies-based. And we did away with all of that because we did quite a lot of work with Oxford Brookes University. And we realized that being competencies-based was not the best measure of somebody's ability to coach. They could write a really good thesis or an essay or send recordings, but it didn't prove that in the moment they could coach. So we changed to a capabilities model. We did away with a lot of the written work. So now students have a 30-minute interview. If they don't come through an accredited body, an accredited training provider, such as yourselves, then they have to have an interview and a longer assessment as well and deliver more paperwork because we don't know the standard of who they came through. So I think that's really quite important. So when your students get their certificate from you and you sign them off, hopefully with distinctions to say that they're best in class coaches, they can come to us and just do an assessment call. It's nothing unusual. It's what they're doing all the time. They're making coaching calls. They're having a live coaching call with us. So it shouldn't be too scary. Although I accept anybody who's being assessed, it is a little bit frightening. We're totally independent. And I think, again, that's important. We don't have shareholders to report to who are going to say, ka-ching, 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 how many coaches have you logged this week or this month? We can be service orientated. We created a code of conduct, which everybody signs, and we encourage our members to put it on their websites if they have one, reinforcing the relationship that they have with us. And we don't charge for our CPD credits. That's quite important for a student. They don't have to pay for all the webinars and the masterclasses and the interview series that we put out there for our members. Usually it's in between 50 and 60 hours a year with people that they would not ordinarily have been able to afford or get in front of, so they can learn a huge amount. And this is all business building, because it's your job to train them on the coaching side. It's our responsibility to help them on the business side to develop that important business acumen so that they can turn their coaching investment training into the dream of creating a sustainable business. So our aims and objectives are twofold. It's to help the public, protect the public, raise awareness with the public, to do their due diligence in the way that they would when they're buying a house or booking a holiday. If you're hiring a coach, treat it with the gravitas that is required. They're going to be working with your mind. They're going to be taking your money. Make sure that you've chosen the right person, not just somebody who's good at listening, good at giving advice, somebody that you like. It's a proper business relationship. And the second aims and objective is to support our training providers in delivering best-in-class training. So we work very much along the lines of the medical profession, first do no harm. And in fact, that is very close to our heart because our head of professional standards is a senior manager in the medical profession. So when she was writing our code of conduct, etc., she had that in mind. Always protect the public. So when you look at our website compared to some of the other accreditation bodies, you'll see the end user is very much in the fore of our mind. We offer a Rolls-Royce service. We are not the biggest accreditation body around the world, but we are the best, and our members tell us that. And then finally, I think another important point, seeing as you are a training provider, is that we allow your students to build their business while they're studying. They don't have to wait until you sign them off and give them a certificate to apply for their accreditation. They can apply for their accreditation before, at any point during or after their training to become a coach. And what that means is, whilst they won't become accredited and they won't have a directory profile, they will have all the other benefits that all our accredited members have. They will have full access to the secure members area. They will have invites to all the CPD. They will have access to the valuable resources such as contract templates, complaints templates, all the documentation they're going to need to build their business. So those are some of the reasons why I would say consider becoming accredited with the IAPC&M, because we care and we look after our members. In fact, Monique, I've put Monique's quote in here because she is a member of 2 or 3 other accreditation bodies. And she's always saying how much exposure, because we occasionally find work and opportunities. We get featured in magazines and we get asked for members to quote and help write articles. So the last big one we had was Marie Claire, which is an international magazine. 6 of our coaches got featured there. And she gets far more exposure and support than any other of her affiliation bodies. I'm going to quickly whiz through the ROI, the return on investment, because it is huge. At the end of every January, I do a statement, an annual statement for our members. What did you get for your accreditation invoice renewal fee last year? And for practitioners, that's £140 a year, which is 34p a day. I don't know what you can buy around the world for 34p a day. I don't think you can get a newspaper or a cup of tea or a Mars bar. But what you get from the IAPC&M is access to David and I and the rest of our management team, and a huge amount of benefits that last year, as I say, was nearly £9,000. So we have a benefits list and a members checklist when somebody comes on board. We don't just expect them to find their own way around the directory in the secure members area. There's videos and support. And because we're bridging a gap between training providers who don't offer any business training, I know NMC do, so this is complementary to what NMC do, because Gerard has a business day. We've created a 12-modular self-teach business coaching program to help build that business acumen. And Nikki, the head of education, has actually brought this to life through videos, and now she does a live Q&A every single month where anybody can drop into her clinic and ask questions. So there's that ongoing support to help them build their business. And for people who are preparing for their accreditation, we've put together 11 videos. We had masterclasses, we had guest speakers, and it's kind of funny to say we've got 11 hours worth of recordings to get through your 30-minute call, but people love it. Hardly anybody now doesn't succeed through their assessment call because they've listened to our pre-prep videos, and even master coaches have said it's a fantastic refresher, and training providers have been asking to use these 11 hours as part of adding to their training. So we know it's a really good resource. The secure members area, this is where they can upload their directory profile, which is important because, you know, if a student has just invested in training and perhaps insurance, if that country offers it, and their accreditation, perhaps a website is further down their wish list. So their directory submission does become their shop window. It will do everything for them except take payments. So they can drive the traffic there. And indeed, if they write a blog for us or we feature them in any way, we're driving traffic to their directory profile. But this is where all the magic happens. This is where all the support is that's documented. And then I've just highlighted a couple of extra things here that I want to share with you. When I was head of mentoring at NMC many years ago, One of the things I used to hear was that students find it difficult to find people to practice with. You know, there's only so many sessions family and friends can go through. So we've done a deal with Reciprocoach so that all our members can have a discounted fee and access to reciprocal coaching. So I think for something like $55, they get 6 hours coaching and they give 6 hours, which is actually fantastic because it helps build their confidence, it builds their coaching log, but it also exposes them to coaches all around the world and different models. So that's been really useful. To help them raise their profile, we have a dedicated client-facing website called Coach Yourself Blog. And that's for the clients or prospective clients who think, well, I can coach myself, or I can't afford coaching, or what is coaching? So if our members are writing for this website, when they've coached themselves through the tips and the articles and gone as far as they can on their own, and think, oh, I really like the articles from Varley or Dawn or whoever, I'm now going to go over to the IAPC&M website and have a look to see who I want to hire. So that's just another resource to raise the profile with the public. We have our book review club, so many fantastic books out there. I don't know how many you've written now, Gerard, I think it's 2 or 3, but you know, there's a lot of great books out there, but so little time. So we created a book review club so we can read the gems. And if you want to buy the book, go ahead. But actually, you know, we're uploading book reviews every month, from industry related to health related to business related, to help our members grow their knowledge. And we have discounted training. So things like mental health first aid. We very much believe that our coaches should put their own oxygen mask on first, you know, particularly over the last 2 years, huge amount of stress and challenges and loss and grief and all sorts of traumas that people have had to deal with. So we created a program, and we have a directory of professionals to help our members, not just supervisors, but counselors and therapists, and we lay on training for them. Some of it is free, some of it is paid, so that they can look after themselves and be in the best place possible to look after their clients. And I've put our book in the top there, How to Win and Keep Clients, to share with you how flexible and holistic we are in our approach. We have a lot of members who want to write a book, but they either don't know how, or they don't feel they've got a whole grown-up book in them on their own. So I put out an advert about 3 years ago and said who would like to write a book, calling all aspiring authors. Had over 80 responses, interviewed them, whittled it down to what I call the Magnificent 7. And then over the next 18 months, we project managed writing a book, which is now on Amazon, doing very well. And we give a copy to all the training providers. You would have had one a long time ago, so that when you have residentials, you can share it. But the feedback that we get is it's a really good handbook for new practitioners because it's a heart-led business book. So that's just an example of the other things that we're doing that you can't put a price on. And these 7 authors now get royalties. We have our own podcast, which is in the top 10 of mentoring podcasts. And this is great from a public facing point of view, as well as a coaching point of view, because the public will listen to it and think, I didn't know you could be coached on something like that. It's a great little piece of PR for the coaches who participate. And like yourselves, we use Westminster Insurance. So our members have discounted insurance. And then for the training providers and the members, they can become affiliates. So every time you introduce a member to us, you get £30 back. So it doesn't take a lot of working out to know that if you've got an accreditation renewal fee of £140, that you only need 5 or 6 members throughout the year, and you would never pay a renewal fee again. So with training providers, the same thing. You would never have to pay another renewal fee for your training provider if enough of your students come through to us. And for those who would like it, I can send you the actual statement of last year, which lists everything because you can't really see it on this slide. but it is a snapshot of how I calculated that £8,700. And then all the benefits culminate in our fabulous annual event, which is International Coaching Week. Last year, I've included last year's because it shows you how diverse the speakers were. When I started this a couple of years ago, it was mainly our members speaking. And then a year after, I was getting a couple of referrals. And last year, when I put it out in October that we were looking for speakers, within the month, every slot was filled. And the same happened for 2022. In October, we were fully booked for May of international speakers that were recommended to us. So such is the gravitas of our organization that we don't have to look for speakers anymore. We have a waiting list of international speakers who have shared the world stage with the likes of Tony Robbins, Jim Kawasaki, etc. So we have some fantastic speakers, and that's what I mean by, you know, students on their own ordinarily wouldn't get access to the likes of Mac Actram's business masterclass for free. So it's a very, very valuable event. And all of that is shared with you for you to share with your members, and you can pick and choose what you want to share in your own newsletters. So that's a snapshot of the ROI. I'm not going to explain this because you can read it, but I just want to say that your students, I think the key thing for you to say in terms of the USP when you're doing your marketing is we're an accredited training provider with the IAPC&M. That means you, as my student, go through the accredited training provider route, you get a discount of £200. And that's for the life, not just when you enter, but when you upgrade to senior, to master, to fellow, you will always have the discounted route, and you do less work because we've invested in having our courses accredited with the IAPC&M, which means that you can have a faster track, reduced fee option to your personal accreditation. And for those in the UK, they pay VAT, and those who aren't, don't. So that's quite nice. And there you can see the annual renewal fees as well. It's a massive drop. Some students think they're going to pay this every year. No, the 397 is the accreditation, and the first year's membership. Thereafter, it's £140. So how do you apply? What's the process? It's very simple. You go online, you click pay, you submit your evidence as per the criteria on the website and as per confirmed in David's email. You take a 30-minute live assessment call. There's nothing scary about it because, let's face it, coaches are out there coaching anyway. It's just another coaching call. It's just another conversation. You then do a self-reflection, and we don't want War and Peace. It's just a paragraph. It's part of your CPD. What went well? What would you do differently next time? You sign the code of conduct. You fill out the standards and ethics questionnaire, which is an awareness exercise. You will then be invited to create your directory profile. You'll get your certificate and logo, and accreditation is valid for 3 years. So at the end of every 3 years, we touch base and just check no complaints, that what is still being delivered is what we originally accredited, and you pay your annual renewal fee, and you've got the opportunity to earn affiliate income. So that's the process. Very, very simple. It's applicant led, and it takes 2 to 6 weeks. And that's it. When to apply is entirely up to the individual student. But as I say, increasingly students are applying when they start their training so that they can build their business in tandem. And I think that's it, Gerard.
Thank you, Dawn.
You're welcome.
I've made some notes as you were talking, just before we open it up to everyone. A couple of things struck home to me. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if people understand the significance of this, but your organization, the IAPC&M, work on a capability model.
Yes.
Which is very, very important. There is one particular organization who I shall not name, but they have recently changed their system, and you can now get accreditation by doing a 150 question multiple choice exam. Mm-hmm. And with multiple choices, statistics show that 50% of people will pass anyway, just by guessing the answer. I just thought that's rather interesting. The other thing I love that you do, you make available to everyone on your site a professional code of conduct. So you and me and others, we can download that and personalize it and use it ourselves on our own website to show our clients what our code of conduct is. So I love that. Something that did strike home to me, CPD, continuous professional development. Most industries would like their people to do it. Almost everyone charges a fortune for it. And you charge again, how much?
Nothing.
Sorry, well, that was zero, was it?
Zero.
Again, I'm joking, of course, because to make the point, but only because it's a very important point, hugely important. The other thing as well, in many of the other accreditation bodies, there are 3 levels. You call it practitioner coach, senior coach, master coach. Some people use numbers, level 3, level 5, level 7, APC, PCC, master coach, and so on. But the IAPC&M go one further. And you have if I use the military word, a rank, a position above all of that called fellow. And the word fellow is actually recognized worldwide by professional institutions. You know, numbers aren't level 3, level 5. What does that mean? But everyone in the world, if they are in a professional body, architects, accountants, lawyers, you name it, they understand what it means to be a fellow of your institute. And that, I think, elevates the IAPC&M into another sphere altogether.